fishing a float, 1/8 ounce jig head, then you've got a 3/8 ounce lead, then a bobber that you can adjust to depth. So you have your bobber, your bead, and then a bobber stop. So you can just grab your bobber and slide it up to the depth you want. Here, Josiah said it's like 3 to 6 feet. So my leader's 3 feet, so I'm gonna slide this all the way down to my bobber right to there. So, and if you look out here, you've got this nice gravelly, sandy part, and then it actually gets deeper and there's boulders, and it's just a perfect speed, which is walking speed, and then it gets into that fast water. So if you see where Josiah's bobber is out there, that's the perfect spot. Nice walking speed, nice smooth motion. So that's where those fish are gonna lay. They're not gonna be laying in this real shallow stuff, but they're not gonna tend to lay in that really heavy stuff, at least, early in the morning. That ideal spot is like halfway across the river, right in that spot right there. Just nice, even speed. You see how when I mend it, you see how that bobber's tipping? It's because it's tangled. So what you wanna do is bring it up and you'll see it's wrapped around the top of the bobber. Boom, it just straightened out. So you always want to watch your bobber. Your bobber is your indicator. So if you see it tilting wrong when you mend it, then you know there's something messed up.
If you do it a bunch, you can tell what's going on just by the way the top of your bobber works. That's why I actually like to use the same kind of bobber all the time, because when you switch bobbers, they act differently. I'm pretty confident in these arrow floats. I like them. They don't break. They're foam, so you can't break one. But yeah, once you just look at it enough times, just like you said, you can tell what's going on just from the way you look at it. The way that I fish a bead, if it's tipped forward, if it's tipped, the top of that thing is tipped just slightly forward, I know it's fishing right.
Right.
If it's tipped slightly backwards, I know that it's not fishing the way it's supposed to. Something's twisted, or my bead's blown out front and it's getting washed around. But yeah, you're good with that one. That's the kind you use. These are the ones I do. Once you look at them enough, you can just tell what's going on just from looking at them.
You want them to ride about 2/3 down. So you want to have enough weight on there so your bobber's riding right there. That's where the water line's going to be. So you can actually see what your bobber's doing. If it's riding real deep and if it's tilting, you can't really see that tilt if it's tangled or if you're dragging on the bottom. So you want it riding about right there. So when you got a 1/2 ounce float and your 3/8 ounce inline lead and your 1/8 ounce jig, it rides perfect right there. And so you can see what it's doing.
The other good thing about having it all balanced, like you have it with the right float and the right weight and the right jig to all add up, is it only takes a fish, just think, almost any tap. If you hit the bottom, you know immediately. If it's a fish, you know immediately. It sucks under with almost no resistance on those fish. Not as critical when you're jig fishing,
right?
Super huge when you're like salmon fishing, because sometimes they'll baby mouth it. Steelhead tend to suck it under, but man, salmon fishing especially, huge that it's weighted exactly right.
Exactly. So he's using a longer leader, so his bait is almost on the bottom or on the bottom, so it's tapping. And so his bobber is going to be tilting slightly downriver when he's fishing it correctly. So he's dragging it. Where I always want mine perfectly, vertical, straight up and down. I don't want it tilting either way, just straight up and down is where I want it. So I know that I'm actually suspending it, because you want it, 1 to 3 feet off the bottom. Because the fish are going to look up, they grab it and pull your bobber straight down. So your bobber's just going to go straight under. Poof. So getting back out there, what you want to do is, if you have a lot of really good water and not just one shallow or one deep trench, you've got to work the water. So you want to do is I start out close in and just kind of a couple feet further and further cast. So you're running line after line, but you're running a different line. Unless you get bit, then you want to run the same line. But you just want to cover the water. It's not like a spoon where you're actually sweeping it completely across the river or drift fishing. Here you're just running straight swaths down the river. And so you want to start in and just work it further out and further out and further out and cover the water. Because the key is, like Josiah said, you find them, you got them.
In a hole this long and flat and smooth, all the way across the back, I've a float and a bead. I mean, bead fishing is one of my all-time favorites, but getting a good float, a little 12 millimeter bead. I got a little bead peg just above the hook. I got a little tiny bobber stop in there, so it holds it in place. I don't know why exactly it is, but they just don't fish as well when they're slid right down to the hook. So they're a little bit better if you can stick them off there an inch or two. Plus, it's way better for catching wild fish. Down below float, a couple little baby split shot, and then a little slip float with a little inline lead below it. That's a dynamite combination to get that. That bead is just going to be able to skate along for so long because I can open my spool and just let it cover it. So I'm going to go back through and throw some beads, a bead through here for a little while, see if I can get one to go, and if I can, I'm going to come back to the top and grab my spoon rod and go back through it with the spoon, because the spoon's been pretty effective the last day or so. So anyway, we're just going to keep covering water best we can, try and hit one in the face.
I usually have my rod up a little higher to keep that line out of the water, and then when it goes below you, you can feed it line. I have long enough fingers that I can grab the line and feed it line and grab it as I go, like this. But if your fingers aren't as long as mine, you can use your thumb, and then you can use it to mend it and pull on it. When you do get a bite, you can just close it and you got him. So on the mend, when you have a big belly in your line like this, if you don't mend it, it pulls your bobber downriver. And so you want to do is have a natural drift where everything is straight up and down, nice even drift all the way down. And that keeps your bobber in the perfect drift. It doesn't pull on your jig. It doesn't lift your jig up. So as you're mending it, get a nice mend on it, pulls that loop out of there. It's just like fly fishing. It's a fly fishing term. You do is you feed a line, got a loop in there, you pull on it, mend it. So mending is the key to float fishing, where you're not pulling on your bobber, which means you're not pulling on your bait or your jig. So it's drifting right down off the bottom. Cast it again. Boom. See, I got a belly in there. Lift it up, mend it. Boom. Keep it up. Keep it up. Get right there. It's starting to tighten up. Open your bail up. Feed it line. So to feed line, what I do is I pop the rod and let the line out. Because sometimes the braids can be a little sticky. So if you lift on it, just pop it like this. It helps the line come off the spool a lot easier. Just pop it. Pop it. You're not moving your float. All you do is you're just moving your rod tip slightly and just give it a little pop. Let that line, see how the line just peels right off that spool when you just pop it just a little bit? That way you're not putting any drag on that float. And I'm not crazy. I don't go way, way down, because the further down you go, more things can happen. You got to get that slack out, you got a lot more line. So, I'll go down, 50, 60 feet and then reel it up. And if I want to go down further, I'll just walk down the beach a little bit and then recast it. But it's better just to cover a certain area like right here, and then move down and cover that section, and move down and cover that section. Because I'll tell you, if things can go wrong, they can. So you try to limit, the distance you are away from your float. The key to being successful is all the little things. All the little things make the whole. So if your bobber's tangled, it's all downtime. So I'm always watching my float, seeing what it's doing. Yeah, I noticed that it's been a while since I re-greased my line with silicone. And so when you mend it, it's essentially to pull your bobber because your line's not floating on the surface. So I've got some fly floating, which is made by Loon. You can use gink, you can use mucilin, anything that's a silicone-based paste that will help float your line. So all I do is I just take a little bit, rub it on my finger, like that, get it on my finger, cast it out. That way, when you reel it in, just put it right here on the finger right there, and I reel it in, then I grease all the line there that's going to be in the water. You just kind of spread it on as you put it on, reel it all the way up to the tip. What I do is now you got to go from where my finger was all the way to the bobber. So what I do is I just let a little bit of line out, slide it down, work it all the way into the line, all the way down to the bobber stop. That way when you mend it, that line is right on the surface, and it will float and it won't move your bobber. You get a great presentation.